My name is Betty. I'm the founder of Hstl&Hrt. We connect women with coaches and mentors, and then we donate part of their profits towards rescuing women from poverty and abuse. So we're a social enterprise. And today we launched an 8-week mastermind for female founders and women in business. So that's very much what I'm working on my mindset around is, taking it a step up and helping women and more visibility. And we are joined by the amazing Emily, who is a master NLP practitioner and an intuitive hypnotherapist. I mean, that's a lot of talents. And she works with ambitious women like you guys who really, it's all about keeping present in everyday life, but also getting on top of their mindset so they can get more shit done, achieve their goals, on just learning to be happier in life and transforming their mindset through those actions. And she is bloody amazing at it. And I'm thrilled to have you with us here today, Emily. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity as well. I am excited to be here and I love what Hstl&Hrt does, especially as a social enterprise. And I think it's such an important space for us to be able to recognise all of the people that need support that maybe don't have the support that they need, which is one of the main reasons I'm super excited to do this, to support you and the people that you support. So I can see like a few faces that I recognise, which is really cool, a few names that I recognise. And you don't have to have your camera on, but it is sometimes cool to see your face if you want to have that courage. I'm not going to say confidence because I think most people, think if they think I'm not confident, they can look at it differently and say, but I can be courageous, right? Because you can always be courageous. Woohoo! I just see a few more faces came up when I said that, so I love it.
Hey, look at all of your faces. You're all so gorgeous. Hello.
It's awesome. So that was amazing that I was able to put that suggestion out there, and then people are like, okay, I'll put my face up. So that's you guys are all open to learn, open to take on information that may help you. And that really is the most important thing about mindset, is just being open to learn. And so one thing I actually want to recommend, if you're able to while you're listening to this, is grab yourself a pen and paper, because there is a saying that I love: what you write, you invite; what you don't, you won't. Betty's excited by that. Betty, are you writing it down? So when you write things down, it holds space for what your intention is. And so if you're able to write down a couple of things today, a couple of key takeaways for yourself, you are going to get a shit ton more out of this than what you would if you just listened to me. However, if you are just listening, I just want you to know that your unconscious mind is taking in everything that I'm saying. So even if you don't remember everything, it is there within you, okay? So as Betty said, I am a mindset coach. You actually did a great intro, Betty. So I help ambitious women to balance all the parts of their lives so that they can be present in the things that they do while also getting more shit done. And essentially, I've come into this place in my career, for want of a better word, because initially I perceived my life, my childhood, to be a traumatic childhood. I no longer believe that it was a traumatic childhood. I think it was the perfect childhood, and it was exactly what I needed in that time and space to become the person that I am today. But over time, I have had ups and downs. We all have ups and downs. I've had my ups and downs, mental health struggles, suicide struggles, alcohol and sleeping pill addiction. Basically, I have not always been living my best life. And I'm now at the point where I have learned some fucking incredible tools. I swear, by the way, for effect. So just FYI, some fucking incredible tools that really, it would quite frankly be rude if I didn't share them. Because I see the unlimited potential in everybody, and I want other people to be able to see that in themselves, so that not only can they create the life that they want, but the ripple effect of that is huge, right? Because so many of us are mothers, we have children, and imagine having empowered mothers who are happy in themselves, raising happy children who are empowered as well. And even if you're not a mother, we all have impacts on people around us, the people that we're in relationships with, and the gifts that we give to the world. So that's kind of my mission. which is obviously why I love Hstl&Hrt and what Betty is doing there. What we're talking about tonight is mindset. And some of you are already in my tribe. So some of the things I say tonight, you'll be like, yes, that's right. We've heard this before, right? But even if you have heard it before, it doesn't matter, because the more times you hear something, you'll hear it in a different way. You'll take something different out of it. And it's also can be a reminder, you know, like, oh, maybe I'm not doing that thing that I could be doing that would help my mindset. So even if you have heard this before, you'll hear it in a different way tonight, because you're in a different space tonight than you've ever been before. You've never been as wise as you are right now in this moment, right? And you can say that at any moment. You can say this time tomorrow, you've never been as wise as you are. I did have someone say to me, you'll never be as old as, you'll never be as young as you are right now. And I was like, I don't like that. I'd rather say wise. I'm like, yes, I know I'm getting older, but let's not bring that up. Betty, did you have something you wanted to say? You just unmuted yourself, so I wanted to...
agreeing with that, because that's so true.
Yeah, it is. It is. And if anyone has any like comments or anything that they want to throw in the chat box on the side or bottom, whatever device you're looking at, just go for it. And I'll have a look towards the end. It's all coming up on my screen. What you write, you invite. What you want, what you don't, you won't. Yeah, you've got it. Well done. Teamwork. Love it. So what I want to pre-frame is, when I talk about mindset, it's not all about, I'm going to use my fingers to quote this, quote unquote, positive thinking. Okay. A lot of the time, I think people perceive that having a strong mindset or doing mindset work is about positive thinking. Okay. And I actually think that there's a lot of damage that can be done when we assume that if we have a good mindset, then it means we're good at positive thinking, because it kind of makes you think that if I'm not thinking positively, then I don't have a good mindset, and it doesn't allow you to see the power in negative emotions and negative thoughts and what they bring for you, the actual, power in negative thinking. Okay. And you're going to be like, what? Why should I think negatively? That's cool. You don't have to think negatively, but I'm going to explain to you why it's important not to have judgment of your negative thoughts and negative emotions, because essentially an emotion is energy in motion. Okay. When we feel an emotion, all that is energy in our body with a certain chemical charge that makes us feel a certain way. Okay. If we're getting it down to like a scientific level. And energy in motion, that emotion is literally just a signal. It's just telling you something. But what often happens is we think, no, I shouldn't think negative thoughts. I shouldn't feel negative emotions. There's something wrong with me, and then it spirals from there. And that's where the problem is. That's where it becomes the story you're telling yourself and the experience that you're having. It's not that first negative thought or first emotion, it's your judgment of it. Because there's actually no good or bad emotions. It's us going, oh, anger is a bad emotion, I shouldn't feel that. So then we suppress, and we push it down. And then what happens? Something triggers us, and for me, anger has been an issue. Anger might not be your thing. It might be sadness. Maybe you cry. Maybe you're frustrated. You storm off. And because we haven't held space for those emotions, because we haven't recognized them and not judged ourselves for them and just accepted them, we then can't handle the build-up that then explodes. And so what I want to give for you all tonight is one strategy, okay? One simple but multifaceted strategy that you can use to change your mindset and ultimately change your life, because your life is only as good as the story you tell yourself. Your life is only as good as your mindset, which is why, as Betty said, everything that you experience, no matter what area of life, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, motivation, health, I'm just looking at the list on the side here, all of this is underpinned by mindset, right? And I think the fact that you're here tonight tells me that you know that. So this one simple tool that I'm going to share with you is something that I teach to my tribe, my membership program, and I teach to my one-to-one clients. And it sounds really simple, but it's so powerful. And if you have heard it before, don't assume that the way I'm going to explain it is the way that you're going to hear it tonight, because there is, well, what's that saying? There's so many ways you can skin a cat. Where does that saying even come from? Is that a saying? I don't know. Anyway.
Saying, yeah, it's disgusting.
It's a weird saying, isn't it? But there's so many different ways you can do one thing. And the way I'm teaching you tonight, again, is no right or wrong, good or bad. I always say to my clients, do what works for you. You know, if it gets you the outcome that you want in a healthy way, perfect. All right. So reframing. Can I get you, if you can, in the chat box to just say yes or no if you've heard of the term reframing when it comes to mindset work? Just pop yes or no. I'm going to assume there's going to be a few yeses because I recognize some faces in here. Woohoo, we got lots of yeses. One no, cool. No, yes, yes, no, yep, cool. All right. So you guys are already pro reframers, even if you wrote no. Everyone is actually already an expert at doing reframes. So what I'm going to give for you tonight is a way that you can structure reframes so that they can be super powerful for you. First of all, what is a reframe? A reframe is looking at something from a different perspective. Like imagine you've got a frame. Gosh, you can even imagine Instagram, right? You swipe different filters and it looks different, so you feel different about it. But it's a different frame of the same thing. So say there's a situation where you're having a conflict with someone and you're looking at it from a certain perspective. You've got this frame around that image or that experience, and you'll say, okay, this is how I think about this. This is how I feel about this. And quite often, because we have a natural negative cognitive bias inside of us, we will go for the negative because it's protecting us, and that's okay. So even if you do have negative thoughts, actually say thank you to your mind. You know, thank you for trying to keep me safe. Is this useful? Is it not? Maybe it's not useful, right? But if it's not useful, then we can use something called a reframe. Okay, and a reframe is looking at something from a different perspective, packaging it up with a different bow so that you can feel different about it. And I want to give you a really clear structure and a few different ways that you can do this so that it's really powerful for you. First of all, though, underneath it all, I want to explain that there's this perception that emotions come from nowhere. Like all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm having an anxiety attack and it's come from nowhere. Or all of a sudden I'm so angry and I just don't even know, I've got no control over it because I don't know where it came from. Okay, and control is a really interesting word. I avoid using control because if we think we have control over our thoughts and emotions and then for a moment we don't, we can be like, oh my God, I'm out of control. But it's actually not that. It's just that you literally have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. If you tried to control every one of those, well, it's just not possible, but it would drive you nuts, right? So you can't. But emotions don't come from nowhere. And I wish that I had my whiteboard here to draw this. Do you know what? I'm going to draw it on here and hope that it goes around the right way. I'm going to draw it on here. So I'm going to draw 4 circles. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to draw 4 circles. I drew them wrong. Sorry. We'll get there. So I'm drawing 4 circles. The first layer to your emotions is actually your values. Okay, so think about the things that are most important to you. Those are your values. We could do a whole session on that. Then there's beliefs. Okay, your values often determine your beliefs. Your beliefs then determine your thoughts that you have, and then your thoughts determine your emotions. So I'm going to turn this around and tell me, is it forwards or backwards? It's forward. Okay, good. All right. So I'll show that to you and hopefully you can listen to me at the same time while I hold this up. So before you even feel an emotion, there's a shit ton of stuff that's happened under the surface, right? Because you don't see them happening because they're unconscious, okay? So pretty much all of these are in your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind that you're not aware of, but is working under the surface beautifully. 95% of what you do is unconscious, okay? So that comes from your values and beliefs. 90% of your thoughts are unconscious too. You don't think about the things that you're taking in consciously, you think about them unconsciously, but then 10% of them are conscious. Your emotions bring to your awareness what is going on underneath. So that's a more conscious thing. So it kind of gets less conscious down here, your subconscious, to more conscious. That's where you feel it. You know, emotions are feelings. You can actually feel it consciously. And that's why, because this is the most conscious, we often think, oh my God, where did this feeling come from? Because that's where it becomes our conscious awareness. What I'm going to show you tonight about reframing is at this level, okay? So it's the level before the emotions, so that you can understand how your thoughts impact your emotions and have some power over being able to change that. When you get down to this level, this stuff can be changed too, but because it's at your unconscious level, the most powerful way of doing this is actually hypnosis. So that's something I will quickly talk about towards the end of this. But this is the level that we're working at today. And this is one of the most empowering levels because it makes you realize how much you have your own power to change your life consciously, okay? So, like my little makeshift diagram there that got there in the end. So as I was saying, we're working at the thought level. So there's 3 steps to take, and this is why I said pen and paper if you don't have one already. There's 3 steps to take to reframe effectively that will allow you to start changing the way you see the world around you and changing your experience. The first step is just noticing your thoughts, okay? It sounds really simple, but most of us are walking around completely unaware of what thoughts we're having because we just go from pillar to post, day to day, day in, day out, doing the same thing routinely without kind of being aware of the words that are happening, the dialogue that's happening in our head. Now, Amelia said right at the beginning, self-talk, right? So that means you're aware of your self-talk. And I want to say that that's actually the first foundational step. If you are not aware of your self-talk, you can't change it. Right? So it's fantastic that you're already aware of that because you can't change what you don't know, right? If you don't know there's a problem, you can't change it. So the first thing is just to notice your thoughts. So just give yourself a few minutes a day to think, what have I been thinking today? Like what words have been going through my head? What's the dialogue? Okay, and I highly recommend getting a journal and writing some of that down. Okay, and I'm going to give you a structure that you can use in your journal for reframes in a moment once I've gone through these 3 steps. All right, so the second part of reframing effectively is to challenge your thoughts. Okay, so when I say challenge your thoughts, it's not to go, oh my God, Emily, you're a fucking idiot. Why would you think that thought? That's so stupid. That's not what I mean by challenge it, okay? What I mean is ask yourself something like, is that useful? Is that making me feel good? Or even, that's interesting. Instead of, fuck, I shouldn't be thinking that. Just neutral. That's interesting. That was an interesting thought that I had just then. How could I look at that differently? Okay, so that's how you challenge your thought. And then the third part is to change them. Okay, so you already are aware of the thought. You then challenge it by saying, is that useful? How could I look at it differently? And then you think a new thought. All right, that's the third step. You think a new thought. If that thought doesn't work and make you feel different, repeat the process. Because that thought, again, maybe is still making you feel frustrated or whatever, you can challenge it and look at it differently. So I want to give you an example. I have to admit, I really struggle with these examples because I do them, when I do them in this setting, I'm doing them consciously. And because I now do all of this so unconsciously, I don't even, it's almost like I don't know how to do it consciously. So it's very interesting. You know how like when you learn to drive, you really have to think about it. And so you could recite the road rules off by heart. Now, like, I don't think about driving. And if someone asked me a road rule, I'd be like, I don't know, I just do it. So I think that's probably why. But I'm going to try and give you an example. So for example, you might have a situation where you are in conflict with someone and you're just not agreeing. That's the situation, you're not agreeing. And your thought might be, fuck, I don't know how to deal with this situation. This is driving me nuts. The emotion might be stress, might be anxious, it might be angry, and that's clearly not working, right? So how can I challenge that? All right, how could I challenge that thought? Okay, this is stress. I can't even remember exactly what I said. This is stressing me out, whatever it was. I could maybe reframe it by going, this is a really good opportunity for me to learn how to manage different people. You know, that's a reframe. Or it could be, I can choose to set these boundaries of when I walk away. So it's giving yourself space to acknowledge the thought that you had without judgment, feel the emotion that you needed to feel. Yep, I felt anxious about that. I didn't enjoy that conversation. I'm now anxious about having another conversation, but I can reframe and look at it from a different perspective that allows me to go, okay, this is going to be okay. And so the way I recommend setting this up is actually using a journal. Journaling is one of the best tools. I mentioned what you write, you invite, what you don't, you won't, right? The time it takes you to think versus writing down holds more time and space for your thoughts, because you cannot write as fast as you think. I mean, if you can, then that is magic, right? So writing it down in a structure with, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 parts. Okay, 6 parts. The first part is the situation. So you write down the situation. What's the situation? And this is an opportunity for you to thought dump it out as well sometimes. Like, you know how when you're a teenager and there's crap going on in your life and you just like get your diary and, dear diary, this happened at school today and this boy doesn't like me and they laughed at me. And, it sounds really funny and ridiculous, but man, it's like the same things that we stress about now, It literally is. As adults, we do, and we need to hold space for that. So sometimes it's just write down the situation, get that shit out of your head and onto paper so you can not have it spinning around in your head. So that's the first part. Write down the situation, then write down your thought. And I say thought, not thoughts, because it's really important to just focus on one thought. If you write down a whole page of thoughts and you have to reframe a whole page of thoughts, you're going to give up real quick because it's just exhausting. The thing is, you don't need to do more than one thought. You might, maybe 1 or 2, okay, one at a time. Once you do one thought, one of those powerful thoughts will smash out the rest of them, because if you can reframe powerfully enough, it will reframe the rest of them anyway. So pick one thought to reframe from that situation, right? And then name the emotion that it created for you. So what was the emotion that it made you feel? Was it anxiety? Was it anger? Was it frustration? Was it annoyed? What was the emotion? Sad. Okay. It's really powerful to learn how to label your emotions so that you can tune into them. And that can be a struggle for people as well, definitely, if it's not something we're used to doing. So something that I sometimes give my clients is like a list of emotions. You can just Google like emotions wheel or list of emotions. And then when you're not sure what emotion you're feeling, you can kind of look through the list and go, yes, I think it's that one. That's the word that sounds like describing what I'm feeling. So situation is the first one. Thought, write down the thought. Write down the emotion. That's the third one. The fourth one, this is the most powerful one, your reframe. Okay, so how many ways can you reframe it? If you can reframe it 5 ways, write down 5 ways. If you can reframe it 1 way, write down 1 way. How many different ways could you possibly look at this? If you're struggling with reframing, if you're struggling with looking at it from a different perspective, take yourself out of the picture and imagine a friend comes to you with this problem, with this situation, and what you say to your friend about it to help her feel differently, right? Instead of, don't be the friend that's like, oh my God, that sucks. Yes, I'll have a pity party with you. Be the friend that wants to help, okay? And what would you say to a friend? Because that kind of helps you separate yourself from the situation. We can be the worst at taking our own advice, but by writing it down, you're inviting it, right? So you've got the reframe, that's the fourth step. I said 6 steps, didn't I? There's only 5. I'm just testing you all. The next step, which is the last step, is the new emotion. So when you listen to that reframe and you tell yourself that reframe, how do you feel differently? So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either rate, so say you're still feeling anxious, okay? You could say, yeah, I'm still feeling anxious, but it's more like a 2 out of 10, whereas before it was a 10 out of 10, and so you can see that what you've done is empowered yourself with a different thought that's allowed you to alleviate some anxiety. Because to be quite honest, like anxiety has been a problem of mine in the past. And now if I feel anxiety, it's energy in motion. I know it's just telling me something. It's not actually a problem, right? So it doesn't get to that high level of a 10 out of 10. So that's one way you can look at the new emotion. The second way is write a new emotion. Like, how are you feeling now? Maybe you're feeling, maybe you actually feel calm now. Maybe you actually feel relieved. Maybe you actually feel empowered after giving that reframe for yourself. So that's the 5 steps, not 6 steps. Situation, thought, emotion, reframe, and new emotion. And that will help you to look at things from a different perspective, And if you do this once a day, just once a day, and honestly, it could like take you 2 to 3 minutes to do that in a journal, just once a day, with one thing from that day, that starts to help your unconscious and your conscious mind recognize the power that you have over your outcome in your day. Because if you think to yourself, oh my God, I don't want to talk to that person, I'm avoiding that conflict, and then you do avoid that conflict, does that conflict actually go away? No, it often makes it worse, right? So instead, if you're able to reframe and step into your power and deal with that conflict in a way that feels good for you, and this is obviously just one example, then the outcome's going to be completely different, right? We can't avoid conflict in our lives. We can't avoid all dramas in our lives. We can't avoid problems. But what we can do is upgrade our way of dealing with them. And this is one of the most powerful strategies, foundational strategy that I teach all of my clients. And when you practice it regularly, like I said just before, I forget on a conscious level how to do this because I just do it unconsciously now, and I can write it in my journal, and I do still sometimes write it in my journal, but I don't actually need to. I use my journal for other things now, but I don't actually need to do it so much because it literally just happens without me thinking about it. So that is how I suggest doing reframes. And that is one of the most powerful ways that I've found working with my clients and with myself doing that. Does anyone have any questions about that? Let me know in the chat box if you've got any questions about that. And while you're doing that, I'll just quickly talk about hypnosis and your unconscious mind, because I did mention that as I drew my four circles. Hypnosis is not, if you think it's where you are going into complete deep sleep and you're going to come out clucking like a chicken, that's not what it is. I mean, unless you go on stage. I don't know if any of you have been to stage hypnosis before, but what they don't really show you, Betty, you have, awesome. What they don't show you is the process they go through in order to get people onto stage to ensure that they're super suggestible and will do the things that you say they're going to do, right? And Betty's like, oh, it makes sense, right? And interesting, there was a few people that jumped after I said, oh, I'd love to see your face. There was a few people that put their camera up. So those people are a bit more suggestible. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But when people are invested and want change, they'll be more suggestible. And that's why hypnosis works, because you invest in it, you want change, and you're there to make that change. It's why if someone has an underlying reason to smoke or an underlying not reason to give up, like say they're giving up for their girlfriend rather than giving up because they want to, that's when hypnosis won't work, because you cannot be made to do something you don't actually want to do in hypnosis, which is a huge myth. Everyone's like, oh my God, what's going to come up? What are they going to make me do? You cannot do anything that does not meet your values. So so for example, like I've seen a show where they did this like process of elimination. There was 3 people up there, and there was one of the suggestions that he made was, okay, so now I want you to give each other a kiss on the cheek. And the 2 guys, there was 2 guys and a girl, the 2 guys kissed each other on the cheek. But then the girl didn't, and she walked off stage, and she walked into the audience, and there she was sitting next to her boyfriend who put his arm around her. So you could tell it was not within her morals to kiss another man on a cheek on stage. So she went, no, I'm out. So you will never do anything in hypnosis that you don't actually want to do. But it is extremely powerful at the unconscious level to make changes. And so if you do ever have the opportunity to do some hypnosis, I highly recommend it if you are really struggling with consciously changing your mindset. It's something that I use on a weekly basis, if not daily basis, because I do it unconsciously. So I can't see any questions that have come up. Betty, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yes.
Cool.
So let's say that, I'd be interested in the link between what you just talked about with the different stages. And I was writing it down frantically on my phone as we were talking, so I just need to get that up. So you said that there's like this 5 stages, right, of reframing. If say you're not very good at that, can you use hypnosis to help you reframe across multiple issues all at the same time? And how many, it's kind of mindset, right? Because you're dealing with it in the unconscious. Well, it is mind.
Well, what you just said is your, like, the belief there is I'm not good at it, which will probably come from an underlying belief of I'm not smart enough, I'm not allowed to feel emotions, or I'm not good enough. So when I do hypnosis, or when most hypnotherapists, I can't speak for everyone obviously, do hypnosis, we look at the root cause. It's not just about, okay, I can't get motivated to exercise, okay, because one of the most common things people talk to me about mindset, and I'm like, okay, so actually there's a deep root structure of that that's not even about exercise. It's got to do with something else. And so by finding the deep root structure, we can actually change a whole lot of the surface crap by just knocking out that belief that I'm not good enough, or whatever it may be for each individual person. DK just asked, did that answer that question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Cool. DK just asked a question. Can you teach yourself self-hypnosis? And the answer is yes. And that's really frigging cool that you can. You're actually all amazing hypnotists already. So think about if you're a mother, and if you're not a mother, you have been a baby at some point, so you've had a mother. You have hypnotized your child to respond to their name. Okay, my name's Emily, and at some point, my parents said to me, Emily, 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 repeated this sound over and over again until I went, I think I'm supposed to respond to that. So suggestion, suggestion, suggestion. Hypnotized to believe that's my name. And now if anyone says Emily, I'm like, Actually, if anyone says mum, mum, and they sound like they're about 3 years old, I'm like, is that my child? Even if I'm like 500 Ks away from my child. So we are all actually hypnotizing ourselves. Think about like your phone. You go into a trance. Wow, isn't that a great time for online shopping? Because you're already hypnotized, right? Because you've got yourself into that state. So interesting that DK has asked this question, because my mastermind that I'm doing from next month, from February the 8th, is going to have a massive self-hypnosis component, because I want people to recognize, first of all the ways that they are already master hypnotists, because we're constantly hypnotizing ourselves through our self-talk. But my mastermind is all about magic, but not real magic. What is real anyway? I could talk about that down a rabbit hole. Your inner magic, basically. So is it okay if I quickly talk about that, Betty? Is that cool? Okay, so because I can drop a link in here for the waiting list. It's only going to be a maximum of 20 women in that mastermind, because I want it to be quite intimate, so you can get a lot from me. And it's the first time I've run it, so I'm going to have it at a relatively low price point so that I can hit the ground running, really get some incredible testimonials from the people that want to be involved in that mastermind. But essentially it's 8 weeks of manifesting magic through the power of deep self-hypnosis and action. Because at the end of the day, you can learn all the mindset stuff, but you've got to have, with knowledge, you've got to have action. Otherwise there's no impact. So it's a combination of those two things over 8 weeks. So I can put a link in here if anyone wants to join the waitlist for that. Is that all right?
And we'll send out an email after this as well. If you send me the link, or tomorrow, and we can send it to everyone too to get involved. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, cool. And I'll make sure that everyone who puts their name on this wait list are the first people to know about it, because when it's such a small group, I imagine it will fill up quite quickly. So I've just put the link there. Hopefully that works, because I only actually set that landing page up today.
Oh my gosh, well done. Me too. And you frantically get it out. Yeah, no, that I love the name of it, Your Inner Magic.
Yeah, well, I just really would love for everyone in the world to be able to see how much power they have within themselves, and share some tools that are powerful for actually creating what it is that you want. And what we learned tonight is one small piece of the puzzle, and you can do so much with just that tool if you really commit to it. But there is also so much more that you can do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And like when it comes to, I don't know if this is a weird question.
Weird questions.
When it comes to, when it comes to like the brain with mindset and hypnosis, do like scientists sometimes do with meditation, they look at brain scans and see the difference in the brain. Is it the same with like mindset work and the physical relation to the brain? Do things change around?
Yes, absolutely. So if we're talking from a scientific level, And I really love to go both into the science and the magic, because I think it's important, and there's more science backing this stuff up now, which is cool. So from a scientific level, every time you have a thought, it creates a chemical reaction. Okay, so, and that chemical reaction then sends a signal to your body. And that's the mind-body connection. So if you imagine, like, if whoever is watching this right now, let's do an activity. I'm not making you dance.
I want to dance.
Betty wants to dance. We can finish with that if you like. I want you to like hunch over like this. Hopefully you can still hear me. Hunch over and think really happy thoughts. Like think, oh my God, I'm amazing, while you're in this position. And it's quite hard, right? Because it doesn't feel, you're like, oh my God, I'm amazing in that position. And then lift your arms up in the air and look up like this and think, I am depressed.
It's hard.
Yeah, right. So when you're telling yourself those thoughts, if your body doesn't match, you can do it both ways. Like by sitting up better, by moving your body, exercise is important for all of these things. They're so connected. But if you tell your mind really confident thoughts, you will stand differently, right? If you're thinking, yes, I'm so good at this, you're going to walk into a room like, shoulders back, chin up kind of thing. Whereas if you're thinking negative thoughts, or I'm going to take away negative thoughts, not useful thoughts, there we go, not useful thoughts, you will probably walk into a room and behave differently. And that's because of the chemical signals that your thoughts are sending to your body to say, okay, well, we're unsafe, let's protect. Oh, we're safe, I'm good, So they're very much connected, and a lot of disease, like conflict, is very much connected to cancer. Anger is very much connected to like bone issues. So there's a lot of connections between our emotions and disease, and we can do a lot around our emotions. There's other things that we can do around our environment and everything as well, and the food that we eat. There's so many components, but I think one of the missing puzzles that a lot of people avoid is the mindset component, because they think, I'll just get a supplement for this and I'll just do da da da, and that works for a while, but then the underlying root causes come back to the surface.
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, like, if you get mindset sorted, then every other area of your life, as we were saying, kind of falls into place, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's never to say that you won't have problems in any areas of your life, but when you have got mindset tools to manage those, you can get through. I call them valleys and peaks. So like, you'll feel really good when you start using mindset tools, and you'll get up to this peak and you'll be like, fuck yeah, I love my life. And then life will throw a curveball and be like, okay, here's this challenge. And so, things will go downhill and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I hate my life. This is not worth it, blah, whatever it is. Okay. And then you get down to this valley and you're looking up at the peak like, I was there and now I'm here. How do I get back up there? You can't go backwards, right? You've got to use the tools that you've got to climb back up the next mountain. And if you've got great mindset tools, you won't spend as much time in the valley. You'll be like, okay, cool. What can I learn here? And those learnings project you, give you momentum to take you back up to the next peak. And what I find now is that my valleys and peaks go like this. They go like peak, valley, the next peak's higher, the next peak's higher, right? And so instead of me just going like this, because that doesn't happen, right? Everyone has ups and downs. It's progressively getting higher every time. If I have a valley and I feel like I'm sitting in my shit, I say that, by the way, sitting in my shit, because it puts me off wanting to be there. If I'm sitting in my shit, I'm like, this is great. What am I learning? Because the next peak's going to be even higher.
That takes some getting to do with mindset, isn't it? Like, what are the lessons, rather than like, oh shit.
We do have times like that too.
Yeah, no, that's all great. And like, apart from journaling, do you have any quick wins, obviously apart from working with you as a mindset coach, that people can use in the day-to-day life to help with a positive?
If you jump on my website, www.bethinkdocoaching, I'll put it in here. There are some free resources in there.
Great. No, that's awesome. And let's open this up. Has anyone got any questions? So I'm not asking all the questions. Any burning questions on mindset or things that you're struggling with and need some advice on? There are quite a few of you in here. We've got a shy crew at the moment, haven't we? Oh, you managed to turn that on mute before you cough. That's organized. I never do that. Okay, there you go.
What if loved ones break your mindset? Okay, here's what I want to say about that. If you're letting other people break your mindset, you're giving your power away. We can have an energetic connection to other people and still protect our energy. So I'm going to give you, there's so much I could go to in this, but I'm going to give you a really quick strategy that I use. And do you know what? I did not get this from any training that I have done. It's just something that I somehow intuitively decided to do when I'm around people that are draining my energy, and I can feel my emotional level, getting drained. Is I imagine, bear with me as I explain this because I'm going to sound weird. I imagine that I'm a trampoline. Okay. I said, bear with me. I imagine that I'm a trampoline and that their words and their energy that come at me bounce off me and go straight back to them because it's their shit. Another thing you can say is, I don't want to sit in their shit, right? You don't want to sit in other people's shit. And it's their mindset that's their problem, not yours. And I'm just about to cough, so I'm going to mute. Hold on. But I was finished with that sentence. Oh, I haven't muted.
That's all right. We all know what coughing sounds like. I'll just do some filler music. Ba, ba, da, ba, ba. This is Elevator Betty. I am here for.
But now I'm crying, so I think I need to stop because I'm coughing and crying.
Don't cry on us. That's not what we want. Coach flies in Hstl&Hrt workshop. Oh no, shit! I'm making you laugh. Sorry, that's not good. But okay. Also, while she is slightly dying on the side, does anyone else have questions around like mindset and business, mindset and life? Like we've only got so much longer. That my camera's fuzzy. Where are you guys in the world? Oh, I'm in Australia, Sydney, and Emily is Brisbane.
No, Albany, Western Australia.
Yeah, it's not Sydney.
No, quite far from Sydney.
Where are you, DK? She's in the smiley face. Sydney, yes, there you go. It's still light here in Sydney, but there's a thunderstorm starting up in the northern beaches.
Oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
Yes, girl, summer.
We need savings.
Carry on with what you were saying, sorry.
I was finished with what I was saying. It was really fun to have a coughing fit.
Oh, anyone else? One last question before we go? No? You'll have to forever hold your peace, which you are all very good at right now. Oh, okay. So remind us again, Emily, where can people find you and how can they work with you if they want to hire you as their mindset expert coach?
Okay, so reach out to me on my website, bethinkdocoaching.com, or on socials, which will be at bethinkdocoaching on both Facebook and Insta. And you can look at my podcast. I've got a podcast called Rewrite Your Story with Emily Smith. So I talk more about my story and how I rewrote it. And yeah, check out that site, put in your details to get information about the Your Inner Magic Mastermind.
Yes, I will. I'll send that out when I send the replay out tomorrow. I'm committing to sending that video because I find video editing very difficult. But I will send it out tomorrow, and you can all have it then. But yeah, thank you very much, Emily, for your time and for not dying of coughing. That was wonderful that you didn't and you were alive. That whole talk was amazing. I was trying to make notes, take photos, and then I realized that this is a video and I can go back. But no, it was wonderful, and I really admire and respect your work. It's super important. And thank you very much to everyone else for turning up for yourself for tonight. You're all wonderful human beings. I hope that it was helpful. I know that it was helpful. Yeah. And that's it. Good night, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's not Sydney. Yeah, thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, no worries. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully speak to you again soon, and good night.
All right, bye.